Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the special Faith Nation, focusing on the economy. From CBN's headquarters in Virginia Beach, Virginia, I'm George Thomas. Owning a home is a central part of the American dream. But today's skyrocketing housing costs have many families living a nightmare. The shortage of affordable places is forcing them to choose between basic needs and a place to lay their head. Brody Carter takes a closer look at the roots of the problem and solutions that could bring some relief.
This house behind me is listed for about $600,000. And while many high-end houses are being built at a steady pace, millions of Americans are struggling. Many low-income families spend more than half of their paycheck on rent, leaving them barely able to afford even the most basic housing.
The rent is ridiculous. I don't know what's going on in the world.
Experts blame a number of reasons behind this and expect it to get worse.
We are in a housing crisis. There's hundreds of thousands of people in this country who have no home at all.
A record 653,000 Americans experience homelessness any given night, a stark reminder of people living on the margins, according to Will Fish with the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities.
There's many more millions who are paying very high shares of their income for rent and are often just one step back away from being evicted and losing their homes.
8 years ago, I could have been paying for a one-bedroom apartment like $900. Now it's double. $1,500.
For others like Sharice Ryan, a student juggling school and work on the side, the burden of rising rent is a bit overwhelming.
It's affecting me because I'm in school right now and I'm not working. So, trying to be in school and do a little bit of Ubering to pay the bills.
Many cities becoming luxury cities where the average cost of housing is $1 million or more.
The Cato Institute's Vanessa Brown-Calder explains that's also caused rent prices to rise much faster than people's incomes. For example, some studies show since the year 2000, rent is up by more than 50%, while average incomes have risen by only a third of that over the same time frame. She also notes construction costs and zoning restrictions add to the affordable housing puzzle.
What's really happening here is that we're just not able to build enough housing. Even with higher construction levels, we're not able to build enough housing to make up for the big hole that we're already in.
That hole she references is a shortage of nearly 20 million homes, widening the gap between available homes and potential buyers.
I do think that the private market is the solution to housing affordability issues. And of course, the private market can only be unleashed in order to solve those problems if the government gets out of the way and removes some of this unnecessary red tape and restrictive regulation. So I do think that, we need policymakers leading the charge to reform government regulations.
Certain states are taking a lead, making significant changes in reforming housing policies. Legislators in both red and blue states have moved to modernize zoning laws, streamline the residential planning process, and updated standards for home building and design. Here in Virginia Beach, a move toward workforce housing. This land here is designated by the city to help blue-collar families, including police officers and firefighters, afford a place to live in this competitive market. And despite any criticism, this approach exceeds city zoning regulations and frees up land once zoned for farming. Progress is being made. There are also private efforts like Kingdom Builder Group in Phoenix, stepping up in faith to help.
We want them to see we're different. Some people know by the name that we're different. We're trying to build the kingdom through providing housing and really just showing people the love of Christ in all that we do, how we treat our customers, how we treat our subcontractor partners.
Partnering with Boxable, a group designing prefabricated homes, the group focuses on affordable construction for low-income families and veterans. They also collaborate with churches and veteran organizations to create sustainable projects that support the city's spiritual and social needs.
The current zoning ordinances in all municipalities across the country are kind of antiquated. I could do 20 units in 6 months if the government would do the zoning and, get out of the way. We could do, a lot more units.
As housing costs likely continue to rise, so will the need for affordable working-class housing. The hope is reforms will expand beyond the state level and private market to bring Americans in need closer to the dream of stable, affordable housing. Brody Carter, CBN News.
The The impact of inflation on Americans' bank accounts is extending to churches. In fact, new data shows giving didn't keep pace over the past year. And on top of that, church attendance is down. As CBN's Jenna Browder reports, potential solutions offer hope that churches can turn this trend around.
From the grocery checkout line to the gas pump and now the church pew, Americans are closely watching what they spend, and it's putting some churches in a bind.
Churches are, in some instances, are struggling, right? That they're not keeping up with inflation. Donations are down. Some instances, attendance is down.
Robert Blair with Ministry Brands works specifically on helping churches grow donations. The group's latest study shows 2023 giving failed to keep up with inflation, with 55% of churches seeing a decrease in giving. This hit smaller churches the hardest, with only 36% reporting an increase. On top of that, cash and check donations dropped for a third of all churches surveyed or in the study.
But there are some things churches can do. Blair says it starts with church leaders communicating well.
One of the most important things is the conversation that the pastor or the leaders of the church have with the congregation. Talking about giving, why it's important, and candidly, what's it for? What's the money going to?
He says being transparent with congregants about where their money is going can lead them to give greater amounts and more often. Another plus can come from offering a variety of ways to give, like going digital.
I have a 21-year-old son. He's never going to write a check, ever, right? My mom only writes checks. So as leaders in the church and as leaders of trying to grow healthy churches, we need to be able to accommodate all congregants.
I can tell you that digital giving has been a catalyst to our ability to increase our giving across the board.
We're reading from the New American Standard Bible today.
Pastor Solomon Adair leads Inspired to Live Church in Arlington, Texas.
Giving for us throughout these COVID years and these inflation years has actually gone up for us. We've grown, but that's due to our heavy evangelism focus. We're always inviting somebody to church, sharing the gospel. It's a part of the culture.
That plays into their goal of asking more people to help do a lot by everybody doing a little. The church is now in the process of buying and renovating its own building.
We see him as a leader in the way he works with his congregation and talking about donations and talking about digital.
Blair points to Pastor Adair's approach as a model to follow. Communicate well, offer many ways to give, and be bold.
The Bible says we have not because we ask not. And one way to ask is to make it easier for the ask.
Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Coming up, the high cost reason some service members are considering leaving the military. Faith Nation returns right after this. Welcome back to Faith Nation. America is experiencing what many consider a childcare crisis. Pandemic-related staffing shortages forced thousands of centers to permanently close their doors. Now, parents struggle to find affordable, quality childcare. As national security correspondent Caitlin Burke reports, it's especially hard on military families.
This time of year, hundreds of thousands of military families are packing up and moving to a completely new location. While frequent moves are expected in this line of work, they also bring challenges. And right now, topping the list is childcare.
I don't think I totally understood the severity of the childcare situation or the shortage and the wait list.
Last summer, Ashley Ellis and her husband received unexpected orders to relocate to a military base in Hawaii. As a full-time federal employee, Ellis quickly put her son on the child care wait list, hoping there would be an opening by the time they arrived.
We got him on the wait list, as soon as we could. We were hoping to get child care by January. We are still on the wait list.
Over the last year, Ellis has juggled working and taking care of her son. This means often starting at 4 a.m. so she can work while he sleeps and taking him along on cross-country work trips. They've also hired 3 different babysitters to avoid gaps in care.
We have a babysitter that costs about $500 to $600 more a month for less hours of coverage than we would be paying if my son was in full-time childcare at the base daycare.
Military bases first began offering childcare in 1989 under orders of Congress. Like other providers, however, they've faced significant staffing challenges and have more than 9,000 children on wait lists. Jessica Strong with Blue Star Families tells CBN News childcare has escalated from just a military challenge to a retention issue.
About 1 in 4 military families have considered leaving military service and say the reason that they would leave military service is because of their spouse employment challenges. And the greatest barrier that we consistently see to spouse employment is childcare.
My husband's career advances and mine waits in the name that we're doing this for our country.
Stationed in her hometown from the beginning of her husband's military career, Kelsey Cleaver had constant support from family. Then they got orders for Kodiak, Alaska.
My first thought was childcare. Something we were fed was Kodiak is the largest Coast Guard base in America. And because of that, they have a CDC, they have a commissary. There's so many activities for children. And we looked through all of those things and we thought this would be a really enriching environment for our kids.
Initially, Cleaver's younger son went to the Base Child Care Development Center, or CDC, while she focused on finishing her counseling degree. Then, recently, with no warning, everything changed.
My husband was told, your child is being removed from the CDC, not because of anything that we've done, but because they did not have the staff to keep him. And what they had done was pretty much put everybody on a priority list. So if you were a family where you were a single parent and you were a member, that put you high on the priority list. If you were a family where both parents were a member, that put you high on the priority list. I'm not in the Coast Guard and I don't have technically a full-time job. I am a full-time student with an internship, but that puts me very low on the totem pole.
This priority framework reaches across all military child care centers, but Cleaver says it's put her family in a waitlist position that could continually be pushed back.
I was very surprised to learn that even when staffing is up to par, my child will still be beat out by new families coming in because they have priority over me. So there really is a very low chance of my child returning to CDC for the rest of our time in Kodiak.
Now, Cleaver keeps her child full-time while still trying to meet the requirements to finish her degree.
I've been pushing through and trying to schedule most of my hours for nighttime when my husband is home. And that is terribly hard because then I'm losing out on that time as a family. As soon as he comes home, I'm gone.
Both the Pentagon and Congress are seeking to relieve some of the burden on families. Efforts include solving staffing issues and providing subsidies to help cover child care costs. If not addressed quickly, however, experts fear this one issue could put the sustainability of America's all-volunteer force on the line. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Still ahead, how war is hurting the economy in the Middle East. The war has devastated lives and economies far beyond Gaza and the West Bank. CBN correspondent Chuck Holton traveled to neighboring Jordan to see the impact on one of the region's top tourist destinations.
Petra, Jordan's crown jewel and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, normally bustles with thousands of visitors daily. Since October 7th, however, its rose-red facades and ancient streets have fallen eerily silent.
No tourists. All the tourists is afraid. Maybe in the Jordan we have war, but the Jordan it's not Palestine. It's far away. Or Jordan it's very safe.
Despite Jordan's distance from the conflict, the perception of danger has dealt a severe blow to the country's tourism industry.
We have many hotels is closed in this one. Like it's 28 hotels, maybe it's 30. Also, we have 300 persons working in the hotel, but now it's stay away and live in the house, not work, don't have work.
To be the only person riding a camel through the Rose Red City would have been an impossible dream pretty much any other time in history. And being here with no tourists because of the war almost makes it feel like you're discovering it for the first time. It's really amazing.
If you like to do shopping, we'll give you a good price.
Unfortunately, that dream has become a nightmare for the merchants making their living here.
Nice gift to buy from Petra. Do a scarf for $180.
When in the high season, we do $200, $300 a day, sometimes $400. Now we make like 10, 15 GD a day, and sometimes no money at all. Like sometimes 5, 6 days, no business.
Without tourists, many can no longer feed their families.
Well, before October 7th, it was like climbing up to monastery around 2,000 a day, 5,000 visiting Petra downstairs. And now we have almost like 50, 40 a day, sometimes 20, maybe more like downstairs, like 100, 150.
Across Jordan, hotel occupancies have plummeted to as low as 3% in some areas. Airlines have cut routes and cruise ships have canceled visits. Despite their hardships, many here are reluctant to openly discuss the root cause of their economic woes. When asked about the Hamas massacre as a possible reason behind his suffering, Solomon immediately ended the interview, a chilling reminder that people here are very careful not to blame the terror group. As war continues, the economic toll on Jordan and other neighboring countries grows. The once bustling streets of Petra remain silent, its majestic ruins both a testament to human ingenuity and a stark reminder of the far-reaching impact of this conflict. From Petra, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Are high prices making it hard to buy a car? Head on down to God's Garage. We explain right after this. Finally tonight, in today's economy, families are struggling to keep up with growing costs. It's especially difficult for single mothers struggling to keep an older car on the road. CBN's Charlene Aaron shows us how one Texas ministry is making a big difference.
God's Garage, a Christ-centered nonprofit, provides reliable transportation to single mothers, widows, and spouses of deployed military. It also helps empower these women by offering special training and sharing the good news of Jesus.
We receive over 200 applications per month of women in need of a vehicle.
The mission of God's Garage is simple: repair and gift vehicles to those struggling throughout the greater Houston area.
It's hard times. Vehicle prices are up. The way we meet those needs is by receiving donated vehicles from the public, and those donated vehicles come into our shop, and we spend time, hours, money, everything that's needed to get those vehicles up and running. And then our job is to turn around and give those vehicles away to a much needed single mom.
During an appearance on CBN's Prayer Link, Executive Director Justin Coggins shared how it all started.
Our founder actually was a pastor, and he loved tinkering with cars and working on vehicles. There happened to be a single mom walking on a very, very busy roadway here in Conroe, Texas. And it happened to be in the evening. He stops by, finds out why is she walking on this road at this time of day in such heavy traffic. And come to find out, the single mom actually had a vehicle. It was in a shop, but she could not afford to get it out. And they were able to work on it and get that vehicle fixed. And right then and there, that's where single mom started a role in God's Garage.
The impact has been life-changing.
Having these vehicles in a single mom or a widow's hand brings consistency back to their life. It helps them get their kids to school on time, on a daily basis. It helps them get to the grocery store when they want to get there. It helps them get the doctor's appointments. It helps them in multiple ways.
Ways proven to be rewarding for all involved.
Last year, we gave away 94 vehicles. The year before that, around 95, 96 vehicles. And so every single one of them is heart-moving. It'll bring you to tears. because of the struggle.
To help with that struggle, the ministry also provides life skills training for budgeting, meal planning, single parenting, and job pursuit like interviews. Spiritual needs are also addressed through an outreach called Restore You.
We present the gospel and give every single lady an opportunity to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. We're seeing 25 to 30% of the ladies accept Jesus Christ for the first time.
All part of the mission of restoring lives, one ride at a time. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Folks, that's going to do it for us here at Faith Nation. Have a great night. Good night.